G'day, ZiggyD here, and today I want to take you guys through my 100% crit chance Trail of Cinders Demon Hunter build. That is right, you heard correctly, 100% crit chance, all the time, permanently. So let's take a look at how that works. So you may have noticed that I don't have any directly attacking skills. I don't have any hatred generators, and I don't have any hatred spenders. This is essentially a pure discipline build. So this build revolves around 3 key points: Sharpshooter, Vault with Trail of Cinders, and a lack of any attacks which deal critical hits. So Sharpshooter gives you a critical hit chance bonus of 3% for every second until you deal a critical hit. As such, you can get up to 100% critical hit, and it only resets once you deal a crit. Now every single ability I have equipped doesn't deal critical hits, however they do use the damage from critical hit chance and critical hit damage. So just to scoot over into my DPS screen for a second, you'll notice that 100% critical hit chance and my critical damage, and your damage is calculated off that. Just for comparison, if I take Sharpshooter off, you'll notice that my damage drops to almost nothing, with only 13% critical hit chance, and my critical hit damage is essentially multiplied by that critical hit chance, which is very high because I have pretty low DPS weapons here. So, I'll put Sharpshooter back on, and you can watch the damage slowly boost back up to 100%. Now once it gets to 100%, it stays there. Okay, so that's enough about that, I think you've got the point. So, Vault with its 1500% weapon damage is also multiplied by your critical hit chance and critical hit damage, but it doesn't actually deal critical hits itself, it just deals damage over time based on that damage. So, as you can imagine, 1500% weapon damage times by your critical hit chance and damage is obscene amounts of damage, enough to melt any mobs even with a really low DPS weapon set. So every other ability is essentially supporting that one key point. I'll go through each one now. Mark for Death is replacing your normal attack button, so when I move around, if I accidentally click on something, I just cast Mark for Death. I'm using Grim Reaper, which does the division of damage to all mobs in an area, which can be helpful for taking down elite packs. Next up, I'm using Sentry on my right click just for taking down elite packs, and I'm using Aid Station, which just gives you a small heal bonus. You don't really need to use Sentry that much, and if you don't have the Discipline regen from a Natalia set like I do, I wouldn't use Sentry at all. It's really a nothing skill, it's not that important in this build. Smokescreen's important for mobility and for avoiding mostly Jailer. I use Lingering Fog so that sometimes I can hit Smokescreen and vault into a pack of Molten without taking any damage. Next up we have Preparation. Preparation is obviously to restore all of the discipline you're using. You want to be vaulting around a lot until you run out of discipline, then popping Preparation and vaulting around and just saving a little discipline to keep yourself safe until you can regen your discipline again. I use Battle Scars for the life heal, but you can use any of the other runes essentially. I use the life heal because I like to be able to take a fair bit of damage with my fairly high Demon Hunter Vite and be able to regen that pretty quickly. Now this final skill is just optimized for Act 1 farming, where I'm wearing Magic Find gear and don't really need the other skill. If you were going into Act 2 or Act 3, or were a bit undergeared for Act 1, then I'd be using Gloom. You could use Gloom with Lifesteal because of the obscene amounts of damage and fairly good proc of Lifesteal on Vault, or you could use the damage reduction rune. But for Act 1 I just run the Ferret Companion because everyone loves gold. Now one cute thing you'll notice is that your ferrets or whatever companion you choose will always crit every hit they do, yet they don't proc the crit reset. So it's fun to watch your ferrets running around critting everything. So the passives are probably the most important part of this. With Tactical Advantage, giving you the 60% move speed after every vault, which is you're pretty much vaulting permanently whenever you're in a fight, and I also use it just for farming speed. This really speeds up my farming. Next up I use Perfectionist for the reduction in discipline cost. It's pretty self-explanatory with all of the discipline skills being used, and Sharpshooter as we talked about earlier. So let's just move on to gear. Now since you have 100% crit chance, you want to be stacking as much crit damage as you can. So I've got my crit damage gem in here, and I've got crit damage on all of the things I can get crit damage on. Now you'll notice I'm using the old Natalia's set, which gives you the increased discipline regen. This really speeds up the build, makes you able to vault a lot more and a lot more quickly, just makes it a lot more spammy. You can do this without a Natalia's set, just stacking a lot of discipline and playing a little bit more slowly and conservatively. I'm actually only loaning this Natalia set off a friend, and I was doing this build before having it. The final important point about gear is you want to be stacking as much discipline as you can. You can get up to 60 discipline with 2 hand crossbows and the cloak. Each one can have 10 discipline on it. So I've got 10 and 8 and nothing on the cloak at the moment, giving me a total of 48. But with the discipline regen from the Nat set, it's worth it. If you don't have a Natalia set, then try and stack up to 60 discipline. It's not too hard to get gear with that. Now just in general, you want to be a little bit more tanky than you would normally be. Stacking some resist and Vite can be very helpful since you're vaulting in melee range a lot. Now just note that I'm using the Enchantress over the Scoundrel, and that's mostly for the additional armor buff. She also deals a nice little bit of damage herself. The crit chance from the Scoundrel is kind of irrelevant when you're always running 100% crit chance. Now sadly, Trail of Cinders will be nerfed in patch 1.0.5, so take advantage of this and have fun with it while you can. There's no word yet on when patch 1.0.5 will be released, but I can assume it will be sometime maybe in this month or early next month. If this build is still viable in 1.0.5, perhaps stacking more crit damage, I don't think they're nerfing the 100% crit bonus sort of trick that I'm employing here. So if it's still viable after that patch, then I'll make another video to let you guys know. If you want to see this build in action, I recently uploaded just a video of me farming Act 1 in Magic Find gear, the Magic Find gear that I'm currently wearing now, and that video highlights a very quick route to take just to get maximum number of elites while avoiding all quests. I end up getting a full inventory of rares and then some in under 15 minutes, so it's very quick farming. I guess I should also say that, probably more importantly, this build is a lot of fun to play, so that's kind of why I'm pretty sad about the nerf, but it is kind of ridiculous. It does do a lot more damage than it probably should. But it is a lot of fun. So, that's it for today. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.